Hi, 8th grade. Today we're going to be working on functions and how to solve functions using substitution. So let's just take down some basic notes on function. What is the one rule that something needs in order to be a function? Our rule is that for every input there is one and only one output. When we think of the word input, this is the same as our x value. So this is our x. So for every x value, there's only one y value. Our notation for writing functions is f of x, and this means that we're having the function of x. And so it's the function of our input. We're taking that input x and we're doing something to it. If I write f of -2, what is our input? Our input is our x value, so it's -2. If I write f of 5, what is my input? My input is 5, so my x value is 5. Now let's practice how to do a few of these problems. Looking at the first example, it says f of x equals -2x plus 7. F of x is the same as our y. This is the same as writing y equals -2x plus 7. But writing it in the f of x notation helps us be able to determine what our input is and what our function of that input is. So looking at a, what does x equal in a? X equals 1. So we can substitute 1 into our function f of x. So I'll end up with f of 1, the function of our input 1, is -2 times 1 plus 7. We'll start by multiplying. -2 times 1 is -2 plus 7. -2 plus 7 is what? We have different signs, so we are subtracting, and we end up with 5. So f of 1 equals 5. If we were going to graph this point on a coordinate grid, what would our coordinates be? Right, our coordinates would be 1, 5. Try f of -3. This would give you -2 times -3 plus 7. -2 times -3 ends up being +6 plus 7, and f of -3 equals 6 plus 7, which is 13. How could you write this as coordinates? Your x value is your input, which is -3. Your y value is your output, which is 13. Try the last one independently. You should have ended up with 17, because you get -2 times -5 is 10, plus 7. Write this as coordinates. It will be -5, 17. Now let's do one more example. For this one we have x squared minus 5. So for a, we're going to substitute, what does x equal? X equals 2. So we'll substitute that in for our variables. So we'll have f of 2 equals 2 squared minus 5, which equals 4 minus 5. Let's change this into an addition problem, plus -5. We end up with -1. If we write this as coordinates, it would be 2, -1. For our input of 2, how many possible outputs are there? There's only one possible output, and that possible output is -1. Now let's try the b. What does x equal for b? X equals -2. So we'll do -2 squared minus 5. -2 squared equals what? 4 minus 5. Again, we can change it into addition, plus a negative, which will be -1. So this point would be -2, -1. Is this a function? If we look at it, we end up with -1 as outputs for two different inputs. But the question still remains, for our one input, how many possible outputs were there? And there was just one possible output, so it still is a function. This concept we've talked about in class quite a bit, and we'll continue talking about it, so if you still feel stuck on this, don't worry about it. But just remember our one rule, which is that for every one input, there is only one output. Go ahead, finish up the rest of the worksheet, then go on ST Math.